Today's episode of Desertwood Days with Kathy Blaze is sponsored by Dork Publishing, expanding minds through fantasy since 2018. Learn more at the Dork Publishing website, www.dorcpublishing.com.
Welcome back to Desertwood Days, and today I would like to welcome one of my longtime friends in the film industry, founder of Platinum Assassin, Miss Lisa Platinum. Hello.
Hello.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
How have you been?
Good.
Good. It's been a while.
Yes, years.
Yes, you've been busy.
Too long.
I keep my eyes out there watching you, Miss Lisa. Give us a little bio on who Lisa Platinum is.
That's a great. Well, I'm a filmmaker and I mostly direct and produce, and then I work for other directors, coordinating first AD. And I have a farm at home.
Oh.
And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah. So how did you get in the film industry? What was it that inspired you to take this road to filmmaking?
So maybe 13 years ago, I want to say, I was watching a season of True Blood. And I watched the whole season, and on the last one I felt sad, like my friends went away.
Oh.
And I was like, what a weird feeling to have from a TV show. So it made me think of theater in high school when you have a tight-knit community that you work with, for months at a time. And I was like, man, it would be great to get back into that as a hobby. Unfortunately, I'm terrible at acting. And so I went to an audition, and we were all reading for the same part at a table. I don't remember doing this, but I guess one of the women read the lines, and the writer was like, that's perfect. That's exactly what we want. And I stood up and I said, you can't say that. And he's like, I'm sorry. And I'm like, well, now we're just going to mimic the way that she read it. So after the audition, he pulled me aside and he's like, hey, you really seem like you know what you're doing. I want you to produce this. And I had zero industry experience at that time, and I was like, that's cool, but I want to direct this. And he's like, no, we have a director, but you can produce it. So the first day of filming was in Tucson, and there was a huge accident, and all these fire trucks block off the one way to get down there, and I was the last car to get through, and the director got stuck on the other side. So I started directing it. An hour and a half later, the director showed up. I talked louder than him, fired him, and then went up to the writer and said, I'm going to direct this. And he said, okay. And then shortly after that, a distributor saw my work and hired me in-house. And I kept thinking that it was, okay, someone hired me for a film. This is really rare. This will be my last one. What a great hobby to have had. And then people just kept hiring me and hiring me.
So for you to say, I want to direct this, did you know at that time what it meant to be a director?
I did. It's such a weird thing. So I met someone that was going to Collins College at the time, and I remember sitting down and watching the students try and put on this film where they all had to rotate positions. And I was just watching the monitor, and I would start telling them stuff like, there's like a big gap right here. Maybe if you make less, I didn't know what the terminology was at the time, but for some reason, I just knew the visuals of there's too much headroom there, or, there's a shadow there. If you turn the light, it'll drive the shadow up. So probably just from years as a kid watching way too much TV, but I knew that I had a natural eye for it, and I started my company to try and help a cinematographer take off as a director, and he wasn't good with people, so I was like, I can do this. So then I just did it for myself.
So where did the name Lisa Platinum come from?
So Lee Tacker, he was my first DP, and when I was starting the company, it was going to be for him. He was a great DP, just not the best director. So I kind of fell into that role. and I asked him what his favorite word was, and he said assassin. So I was like, all right. So I was trying to think of something of value like gold, silver, and I picked platinum. And then everyone just associated it with my hair. So now I'm stuck blonde forever.
You're stuck blonde forever. Well, I guess you can be like Pink. Didn't she change her hair color?
Yeah.
But it seems kind of weird calling her Pink when her hair isn't pink anymore.
Yeah.
So Platinum Assassin is the name of your production company.
Mm-hmm.
So you started Platinum Assassin while you're here in Arizona. Can you tell us about the first film you produced up under Platinum Assassin?
That film, I think I made for $10,000, and it was basically a ripoff of The Mummy. So I had a distributor ask me to, when American market horror movies were coming out, we kind of make similar genre movies in that style. So mummies were popular at the time, so I wrote the movie Isis Rising.
I remember that.
And it had no money, so I shot it at a studio, and I built all of the props myself and made it look like a museum. And then I think I got access to a museum in Mesa, and they let me film there. And that was my first one. It was all right. I didn't know how to do CG yet, so there's this scene where one of the characters explode, but like I just was cutting out circles of the image to have it explode because I didn't know how to do that yet. So the lighting is very good in that movie. The comedy is very good, but there's little things like the CG I still had to learn at the time.
So could that be a movie that you go back and remake? Or would you ever think about doing something like that?
That one probably not. It did surprisingly well. Actually, that was kind of how my career started. Was it did so well overseas that I just kept getting hired for more things. I think it was one of their highest grossing films in 6 years at that distribution company. Yeah,
that's wonderful. So I remember when Miss Lisa Platinum was starting off, and your name was heard around the community quite often on things that you were doing. And how did that feel for you, just starting off as a film producer, having your own production company, and being a female amongst all these men out here doing what you were doing?
It was a little mixed, if I'm being honest. So I tried very hard to not be actively involved in the local community because it was two things. I either worked with men that told me how I was doing it was incorrect, or I got people that wanted to work with me for not the right intentions. So I started to put together groups of people that I liked, and then eventually I started pulling people from out of state, and then my core crew for many years was coming from LA or Vegas, and then just recently I started working locally again. So I mean, it was good, it was nice, it was definitely like thrilling to do something that I thought was going to be a hobby and have it explode, but it was also a little...
Sometimes that hobby leads to that passionate thing that you need to be doing, because you're evidently great at it.
Thank you.
You know, a lot of times we start things like as a hobby, and we realize it's not really something we want to do after. And you've been doing this for how many years now?
I want to say 14.
14 years? Wow. That's quite a while. And from Arizona, you then start going outside into LA and other markets working. How was that experience for you initially after working here in Arizona?
It was fun. So I learned a lot working out of state, and I learned a lot about, talent. Raw talent is one thing. Obviously, it's super important, but also the passion for the people that you're working with. So something that I saw a lot of in LA is you would get people that would work for cheaper rates just because they were passionate, and I would have people that were established would be applying to work on or act in one of my films. And I remember this one gentleman who's very prominent in the horror world, and I sent him an email, and I'm like, I am thrilled that you even took the time to email me, but can I ask you why? I make these smaller overseas horror movies. And he's like, because I never get to do roles like this, and I'm just passionate about it. And so it changed my perspective of the type of people that I wanted to work with. And instead of just taking referrals from the 5 or 6 known names of, oh, these are who you should work with. I started really handpicking, like, this person has, this rare talent in this eye, and also this heavy passion where they're going to put their heart into it because you can really see it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And you know what? It seems like you have an eye for it, and that's what you should be doing. Because a lot of times people that are in this industry and are doing the same thing that you're doing, they can't see those things that you just mentioned here right now. They really don't know the business that well. So they think this is what I should be doing, or they've listened to someone that told you you're doing it wrong, and they're teaching them their way of doing it, which may not be right either.
Yeah.
So I love that you stuck to what you were doing instead of listening to that person saying, no, Lisa, you're not doing it correct. Because you could be still stuck here doing it the way that they were doing and missed out on all those opportunities that you had.
Right.
Because you didn't go with your mind on how you want to do things. And I noticed that, how did you get into, had you always been into horror?
So it's funny. So growing up, every week, me and my best friend Rachel, we would pick a horror movie and we would watch it. And so I've seen everything, like Puppet Masters. So I was really big into horror until I started making it. And now I'm so picky about horror. Like, it has to be so good. Otherwise, like 5 minutes in, I'm like, that person's a killer and that person's going to die in this scene this way. And so I think making it kind of killed that a little bit, but it also made it fun.
It's not just sitting there eating popcorn and watching it now that you're behind that camera.
Yeah, there was like a good 2-year gap where I couldn't watch horror because I was like, this is stressful.
You ruined it for yourself. So Lisa, you worked outside of Arizona. You've been in other markets. Now you're back in Arizona. What's your plans for Arizona? Inquiring minds want to know.
So I started working for some companies out here. I was doing mostly feature films the last couple of years, and especially during COVID. And then I decided to reopen the commercial end of my business. So, that's a huge market out here, so that's a lot easier to do. And there were a lot of people that I wanted to start working with, and so this gives me an opportunity to hire more people that are local. And then I would like to make another film here this year.
Wonderful, wonderful. I recall working with you on a film some years ago. Is there any plans in getting that one started back or completing it?
Which one was that one?
Oh, I can't remember the name of it. Sandy Kim was in it. I think she was
Lilith, maybe?
What was it?
Lilith? The vampire?
No. I have to give you the name later. Can't remember the name of it.
Or the Corrupting Eden one.
That's it.
I want to. I've been thinking about that. So I actually found on
Corrupting Eden, that's it.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was the first thing I ever made before my first film. I liked that one. The script was funny. Everyone was good in it. I found on an old hard drive the guy that shot it actually put together an edit of the show.
Oh, really?
So I watched it. I was like, that's pretty good. Maybe I should redo that.
It was fun too. It was fun. And that's one thing about, you know what? It has to be fun in order for you to want to continue to do work like this, because it's a lot of time, a lot of energy put into something like this.
Yeah.
And if you're not having fun, I mean, you're not going to keep at it.
Right.
So you've been doing this for 14 years. What advice would you give to a young Lisa Platinum out here that wants to get into this industry?
Well, everything's changed since I started, but at the time I was told that women couldn't direct. So I was like, cool, and I started a company. And then I was told that the way I was directing
she was hard-headed. She said she ain't gonna listen to you.
And then I was told that the way that the style I was doing it in was incorrect, and I tried to do one movie the correct way, and it was a horrible experience. So then I watched this documentary about Steven Spielberg making Jaws. And he had every problem that I had. He just had millions of dollars. So I was like, okay, I'm doing something right. Because even at the money level, you're still having these issues. So I would say, trust your instincts and gravitate towards the people that offer help. That was something that I was really big on when I first started, is I wanted to help as many people that wanted it. There weren't many people that were interested at the time, and then years later, people were like, hey, I like your plan for distribution. What do you do? And at that point, I was just like kind of over it. But now coming back, I'm meeting all of these new people that are eager about it and have
Times
this
have
passion
changed.
for it. Yeah, and
Times have
I want to
changed
help
big
them.
time. And you know what? I was saying this to someone earlier that, you know, we have a new crop of people out here. I mean, we've been in this industry so long that we know so many people. We know the good, the bad, and I won't say the ugly. I ain't calling nobody ugly, but we've seen people come and go.
Yeah.
What we've seen. What at you mentioned being around the right people that can mentor you and pretty much show you. How do you determine who that person is?
I think it's just in their personality. I mean, it's hard when you're doing like a low budget film, because you meet somebody and then you have to trust that they're genuine. And some of the time you don't find out until you're already on the shoot, so it's problematic.
Right.
But with the commercial work, I get an opportunity to hire a lot of people for 1 or 2 day shows and kind of get to know them. And there are some really great DPs that didn't exist when I started that are absolutely amazing, that I think before I ever hired them, for maybe 2 months, I was like, hey, what is this? Or how do I do this? Or who's the best person for this? And just because they genuinely wanted to help, they would answer my questions and help. And so then every higher-end job that came in, I'm like, hey, are you available? Can I give this to you? And that's the people that I started to try and pull in, that just no ego, want to help, want to teach, so that everyone can evolve and be better together. And I really like that.
And one thing that I've noticed because we've had a few of them on our show, is we have a lot of owners of full studios with all the full productive, probably using the wrong term, but they offer all those services in their studios, which is something that we didn't have before years ago.
Right, yeah.
So that's a good thing as far as needing DPs or a place to film and props and everything else. If you can get that all in one place, that's really nice also.
Yeah, it's definitely grown a lot out here. There's so many studios out here, it's hard to keep up, and they're all good.
Yeah.
I know we have that new, the wraparound screen, the 3D, like the virtual sets.
Yes.
There's 2 of those out here now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's definitely some big changes that have happened in the last couple of years, and just seeing the quality of the DPs too is just, it's very
changed.
exciting to see. Yeah,
that's true. So Lisa, with that new tax incentive that just passed, what's your thoughts on that?
I'm in the middle on it. I think that it will definitely be good. I think we have enough resources and really fantastic people here that it's gonna give a lot of people jobs. I'm a little bit worried for the independent studios though, because I feel like, you know, over the last year, I know with inflation, everybody raised their rates.
Right.
I'm worried that with the tax incentive, people are going to have great jobs, and that's fantastic. But I'm worried that it will almost drive out the independent
studios.
Because they either everyone will be booked, or the rates will be too high, or they won't be hiring above the line, because usually they bring their above the line from out of state and then hire everyone else. So working above the line, I'm a little torn, but I'm definitely open to it, and anything that drives jobs here, I'm for.
And that's some of the concerns that I've seen, is that people are concerned about the huge productions coming here, bringing their own crew with them, and what does that mean for Arizona crew. So, you know, it's something to keep our eyes out on. So, outside of filmmaking, tell us about Jeffrey.
So Jeffrey, my pig, he turns 9 today.
Happy birthday, Jeffrey.
I got him after my first movie, and I think he's been in all of my movies since that one.
That's awesome. What was it that were you raised on a farm? What was it that interested you in getting a pig?
So
I thought I heard a little accent come out there a moment ago. Where are you from?
Chicago.
Okay, I heard an accent.
I know, sometimes it sneaks out.
It sneaks out sometimes, huh?
So much like what started the prompt of my career, I was dating this guy, Benjamin. He still works for me. 14 years later. He is my lead animator. He's amazing. At the time I was dating him, and he was telling me about growing up. He had a pot-bellied pig. His dad loved pigs. And mini pigs had just become a brand new thing. And I was like, oh man, I would love to get one as a pet. And his mom's like, no, it's a terrible idea. So then I broke up with Ben, and I got a pig the next day, and then that was the end of it.
Oh my goodness.
And actually, Michael Harrison.
Yeah.
So I had been talking about getting a pig for a while, and one day, totally randomly, I got a package in the mail, and it's this stuffed pig, which we named Henry, and it looked real, and I posted a picture of it on social media, and everyone thought that it was a real pig. And that was kind of like, I was like, all right, now I'm going to do it.
That was a sign.
Yeah.
Then there's Jeffrey.
Yep.
So what's next for Lisa Platinum?
So I had a couple bigger shows this year I was really excited to work on. Definitely got to work outside of my element on bigger budgeted shows that I hadn't gotten to do before. So just kind of growing with everything I do. The commercials, I'm trying to do more things that I haven't had an opportunity to do with them in the past. And then I'm working on putting together a bigger film for myself as well this year, and doing a different genre. I always wanted to do comedy. So I'm going to do my first comedy film this year that I direct.
Okay, I can see you doing that.
And then we did a new animated series that just got under contract, so that'll be
Congratulations.
coming out soon. Thank you.
So where can our audience find you?
My website or Instagram. All of my across the board is Platinum Assassin.
Okay, Platinum Assassin. You heard it from Lisa. Thank you for joining us here today. It's such a pleasure. It's such a pleasure to see you again.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for joining us here today on Desertwood Days, and we'll catch you next time. Desertwood Days.